The cultural achievements of pre-colonial Philippines include those covered by prehistory and early history of the Philippines archipelago and its inhabitants, which are the indigenous forebears of today's Filipino people. Agriculture. Early Filipinos were good agriculturists. A report during the time of Miguel Lacubde de Legazpi noted of the great abundance of rice, fowls, wine as well as great numbers of carabaos, deer, wild boar and goats in Luzon. In addition, there were also great quantities of cotton and colored clothes, wax, honey and date palms produced by the natives. In the Viceroys, according to another early report, rice, cotton, swine, fowls, wax and honey abound. Leyte was said to produce 2 rice crops a year, and Pedro Quirino commented on the great rice and cotton harvests that were sufficient to feed and clothe the people. Duck culture was also practiced by the natives, particularly those around Fatiros and Taguig City. This resembled the Chinese methods of artificial incubation of eggs and the knowledge of every phase of a duck's life. This tradition is carried on until modern times. The Ifugos of the mountainous region of the Cordilleras built irrigations, dams and hydraulic works in the famous Banal rice terraces as a way for assisting in growing crops around 1000 BC. Art of war. High-quality metal casting, artillery, and other metal works had been traditions throughout the ancient Philippines. The metal smith, or Panday Pire of Pampanga was skilled at making weapons, and many individuals with the surnames Vire and Pire are said to be descendants of people who were once members of the Guild of Smiths who followed the tradition of the Panday Pire. Early Filipinos used small arquebuses, or portable cannons made up of bronze. Larger cannons, on the other hand, were made of iron and resembling culverins provided heavier firepower. The iron cannon at Raja Suleiman III's house was about 17 feet long and was made from clay and wax molds. Guns were also locally manufactured and used by the natives. The most fearsome among these native guns was the lantaka, or swivel gun, which allowed the gunner to quickly track a moving target. Some of the weaponry used by the natives was quite unusual. For instance, one weapon was the prototype of the modern-day yo-yo, and it returned to his owner after being flung at an opponent. Swords were also part of the native weaponry. Making of swords involved elaborate rituals that were based mainly on the auspicious conjunctions of planets. The passage of the sword from the maker entailed a mystical ceremony that was coupled with superstitious beliefs. The lowlanders of Luzon no longer use of a bararay, while the Moros and animists of the south still continue the tradition of making kampilan and kris. In addition to weaponry, the early Filipinos made good armor for use in the battlefield and built strong fortresses called kotpa or mug to protect their communities. The Moros, in particular, had armor that covered the entire body from the top of the head to the toes. The Igorites built forts made of stone walls that averaged several meters in width and about 2 to 3 times the width in height around 2000 BC. Education in writing. Early Filipinos devised and used their own system of writings from 300 BC, which derived from the Brahmic family of scripts of ancient India. Baybayin became the most widespread of these derived scripts by the 11th century. Early chroniclers, who came during the first Spanish expeditions to the islands, noted the proficiency of some of the natives, especially the chieftain and local kings, in Sanskrit, Old Javanese, Old Malay, and several other languages. Maritime culture and aquaculture. Early Filipinos, being descendants of the Balangay-born Austronesian migrants from maritime Southeast Asia, were known for their navigational skills. Some of them used compass similar to those used among maritime communities of Borneo and traders of China, although most had no need for such devices. In modern times, some fishermen and traders in the Viceroys, Mindanao, Sula and Palawan can still navigate long distances over open water without the use of modern navigational instruments. Philippine ships, such as the Caracao or Corca, were of excellent quality and some of them were used by the Spaniards in expeditions against rebellious tribes and Dutch and British forces. Some of the larger rowed vessels held up to 100 rowers on each side besides a contingent of armed troops. Generally, the larger vessels held at least one lantaka at the front of the vessel or another one placed at the stern. Philippine sailing ships called praus had double sails that seemed to rise well over 100 feet from the surface of the water. Despite their large size, these ships had double outriggers. Some of the larger sailing ships, however, did not have outriggers. Communities of ancient Philippines were active in international trade, and they used the ocean as natural highways. Early Filipinos were engaged in long-range trading with their Asian neighbors as far as west as Maldives and as far as north as Japan. Some historians even propose that they also had regular contacts with the people of Western Micronesia because it was the only area in the Oceania that had rice crops, tuber, and tradition of betel nut chewing when the first Europeans arrived there. The uncanny resemblance of complex body tattoos among the Visayans and those of Borneo also proved some interesting connection between Borneo and ancient Philippines. Magellan's chronicler, Antonio Pigaeta, mentioned that merchants and ambassadors from all surrounding areas came to pay tribute to the king of Sugbu for the purpose of trade. While Magellan's crew were with the king, a representative from Siam was paying tribute to the king. Miguel La Cubed Pez de Legazpi also wrote how merchants from Luzon and Mindoro had come to Cebu for trade, and he also mentioned how the Chinese merchants regularly came to Luzon for the same purpose. The Visayan Islands had earlier encounter with the Greek traders in 21 AD. Its people enjoyed extensive trade contacts with other cultures. Indians, Japanese, Arabs, Vietnamese, Cambodians, Thais, Malays and Indonesians as traders or immigrants. Aside from trade relations, the natives were also involved in aquaculture and fishing. The natives make use of the salambao, which is a type of raft that utilizes a large fishing net which is lowered into the water via a type of lever made of two criss-crossed poles. Night fishing was accomplished with the help of candles made from a particular type of resin similar to the copal of Mexico. Use of safe pens for incubation and protection of the small fry from predators was also observed, and this method astonished the Spaniards at that time. During fishing, large mesh nets were also used by the natives to protect the young and ensure future good catches. Mining and jewelry making. Mining in the Philippines began around 1000 BC. The early Filipinos worked various mines of gold, silver, copper and iron. Jewels, gold ingots, chains, kalombigas and earrings were handed down from antiquity and inherited from their ancestors. Gold dagger handles, gold dishes, tooth plating, and huge gold ornaments were also used. In Laszlo Legiza's Tantric Elements in Pre-Hispanic Philippines Gold Art, he mentioned that gold jewelry of Philippine origin was found in ancient Egypt. According to Antonio Pigaeta, the people of Mindoro possessed great skill in mixing gold with other metals and gave it a natural and perfect appearance that could deceive even the best of silversmiths. The natives were also known for the jewelries made of other precious stones such as carnelian, agate and pearl. Some outstanding examples of Philippine jewelry included necklaces, belts, armlets and rings placed around the waist. Pottery. The ancient Philippines had a very rich tradition of pottery as verified by the finds at Iob Cave in South Cotabato and other parts of the islands. Japanese texts mention trading expeditions to the island of Luzon for the highly prized Luzon and Nambam jars occurred. Japanese texts were very specific about these jars being made in Luzon. The Tokiko, for example, calls the Luzon and Nambam jars, Luzon Tsukuru or Luzon Ji, which means simply made in Luzon. These Luzon jars, which had rakeru, were said to be more precious than gold because of its ability to act as tea canisters and enhance the fermentation process. References. External links: Ancient Philippine Civilization, Austronesian Migration Waves and Expansion in the Asia-Pacific, Burial Coffins and Grave Furnitures, The Philippines, Then and Now, Prehistoric Neolithic Iron Age Culture, Timeline of the History of the Philippines, Prehistoric Times.